Good evening. Thank you for joining us at our first meeting in February 2021, a regular session. Please join me in a prayer and our pledge. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have the council member roll call, please.
Mr. Powell?
Here.
Mr. Gertz?
Here.
Mr. Lynn?
Here.
Mr. Allbrink?
Here.
Mr. Lindeman?
Here.
Mr. Fischescher?
Here.
Mrs. Edichico?
Here.
Okay, everyone's here. Approval of minutes, unless there's any objection, the minutes for the council meeting on January 19th session are approved as distributed. No objections, those minutes are approved. Any audience asking for permission out there?
Nothing that I've received.
Correct, okay. And reading of any communications?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. I was hoping to suggest to council that we go ahead and change the agenda order and go to the reading of the resolutions and then go to an executive session if needed right after that, so that Mr. Braun is facilitated on this evening's agenda. Can I have a motion on that?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Fischescher, seconded by Ms. Edichico, to change this evening's agenda to read the resolutions and any ordinances at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then we will go ahead and read our first resolution.
It's the second reading of last week's resolution, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a settlement and release agreement with the Reading Community City School District.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring a third reading.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Fischescher, seconded by Ms. Edichico, to suspend the rule that requires a third reading for this resolution. Roll call.
Mr. Powell?
Abstain.
Mr. Gertz?
No.
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Allbrink?
Yes.
Mr. Lindeman?
No.
Mr. Fischescher?
Yes.
Ms. Edichico?
Yes.
Okay, so we did have our second reading of this resolution tonight, and the next time we meet, we'll have the third reading. Mr. Gertz, there was a second resolution added tonight in your email.
I'd like to comment if I could, Ben.
Go ahead.
I was contacted by one of our citizens, Mr. Dwayne Mount, concerning the fact that he has taken some initiative to contact an attorney and advised me that they were taking some steps towards doing a motion to get an intervention on this action that's pending with the school board. And I did have my secretary download that record before me. And at this time, it looks to me like there is going to be some active citizen participation in this whole discussion concerning what's going on with the issue of these polls and with the issue of the cost and how this is going to unfold. Now, my opinion would be that since we have citizens, and I did read portions of the motion pretty quickly tonight. I didn't get a chance to digest it thoroughly. But it also, let me finish.
Any resolution?
On the motion to intervene on this resolution, but or the action that's pending, let's put it that way, in the violation of the planned district development by the school board. But anyway, since we have some citizens, and it referenced other citizens, I don't know who they are or what their details are, but it would seem to me that if we have residents and citizens who want to allow themselves to get involved in participating in this whole discussion, then I believe we should basically table any further issue or discussion on any kind of resolution that's before us. And I'm asking that if that's the case, that I withdraw my resolution as well that I drafted in the event that the resolution fails. Because I believe that it would be more appropriate to let these people have a right to sit at the table and participate in our analysis of what's going to happen here in reference to the future of how this thing will come to ultimate, a conclusion or fruition. And I don't want to speak out of turn with, I did have a casual conversation with our attorney. By the way, I made a comment at the last meeting that I don't know how expensive this is, but I found out that Mr. Braun is doing a very good job for us at a very reasonable rate. I don't want to say it because it would be less than mine, Joe. So I don't want to jeopardize my own future ability to deal with my own clients. But nevertheless, I don't see this as a major catastrophic expense to the city, and allowing us some more time to let our attorney deal with the issues concerning the citizens who want to now have a seat at the table and discuss this thing, especially those that are in immediate adjacent areas where these future underground utilities are supposed to go or not go. So my view would be to table this thing. And at this time, I would like to make a motion that we table any resolutions, including mine or the current one that is before the council, until our citizens have a chance to sit down at the table and participate in the discussion. So I'm going to put that on the floor before we do any other executive session or do anything further. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to table all the resolutions that are before us concerning this issue.
Does our attorney or Dave have any comment on this at this time?
Is there a second?
I asked the question there, Chris.
Yeah. I think we're right in the middle of a motion.
Well, can we have discussion or not?
I think this is better in an executive session, which has been asked for by our lawyer. So I'm just following through with what his suggestion was. So at this point, I really don't want to have additional comment. I think Mr. Gertz laid it out as best he could there. And you're looking for additional comments that you'll get in an executive session.
Okay, well, okay. So
Okay.
I'll second his motion.
Motion made by Mr. Gertz, seconded by Mr. Lindeman to table all resolutions on this matter until further notice. I'd like to take a roll call.
Mr. Powell,
Abstain.
Mr. Gertz,
Yes.
Mr. Lynn,
No.
Mr. Albrecht,
No.
Mr. Lindeman,
Yes,
Mr. Fischescher,
No.
Mrs. Zetachico.
No.
The motion failed. So I will go back to my original question, Mr. Gertz. Do you want to have this resolution read tonight? I think in your email, you mentioned that you would only want this read based on the outcome of the first resolution. Is that still?
Yeah, I'll withdraw my current resolution until we see where the first one goes.
Okay. Okay, so with all that said, I had a motion to suspend the rule by Mr. Fischescher, seconded by Ms. Edichico. That failed on our first resolution, so that'll be a third one later. We have no other resolutions. Any ordinances?
No.
Okay, without any other ordinance, I would like to have a motion to go to executive session at this time.
Chris, I'll make a motion to go to executive session for,
Okay, I probably need a little help here. I don't think I sent anything out on this.
That was gonna be my question is,
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing anything.
Same here.
Yes, I've got a number here, so I need to email this to you. Keith,
I can, would you like me to read it?
I don't think I want everybody from the
No, don't do that.
audience
Don't
to
do that.
look it in.
No, I meant the motion for executive session.
A point of order, we didn't even vote to go into executive session. I think we at least ought to have a
Yeah.
vote.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
We would need a motion to go into executive session under revised code 12122G3 to discuss pending litigation with your counsel.
Okay, let's do that then. Go ahead. Anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to go into executive session.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Ms. Edichico, seconded by Mr. Lynn to go to executive session on the matter of the ordinances that have been mainly the first ordinance that was read again this evening.
To discuss the litigation.
The what?
To discuss the litigation.
Discuss the litigation. I'd like to go ahead and have a roll call.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Gertz,
No,
Mr. Lynn,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht,
Yes.
Mr. Lindeman,
Yes,
Mr. Fischescher,
Yes.
Mrs. Edichico.
Yes.
Okay, then we will be going to executive session. Before we all go over there, I need to send you an email with a phone number on there. Is that something you can help us with, Keith?
I actually do not have access. I don't
Okay.
have the phone number that it
Well,
was.
Let me forward this as quickly as I can to all involved.
Just remember, everybody, once you call into that phone number, if you're staying on this Zoom, please mute yourself so you don't get picked up on live feed.
Did we state the time we went into executive session?
Not yet. We haven't gone yet, so.
Okay.
Don, do you want yours to go to Fuse or Gmail? Okay, I'll send it to both.
Chris, I'm gonna go ahead and ring off. I don't have a report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just sent everyone an email. Just let me know if you've gotten it so we know we're all going to be going over there.
Chris, what email did you send it to? Because I don't have it.
Did you want to be in the executive session?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll send it to you too. Also, Mel, did you? Yes? Mel, was that a yes?
I received the email, Chris.
I think it was a yes.
Yes.
Chris,
Yes? Okay,
I have the number.
so Don and Dave Powell.
Tell me all the people that are going to this executive session.
Will be joined into the conference.
So you got your email, Don? Hey, Mel, did you get yours?
Not yet.
Okay, how about you, Randy?
This is the exact reason we need to go back to the council chambers. Stay in the bars till 11 o'clock. It's ridiculous.
I haven't gotten it yet,
Took
Chris.
up way more time
I've
sometimes.
got mine, Chris.
Okay,
Tony Gertz.
Joe, you need one, right? Okay,
Tomlin.
Reminder, make sure you turn your mics off on your.
I'm not getting yours to come up. Joe? Can you give me your email? Joe?
Yeah, it's JJ Braun.
JJ, okay. There it is.
Chris, you're not muted.
Oh, I know, I will eventually.
Okay.
Tony, you got your email? He's not answering. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and mute. I think, Mel, did you get yours?
No.
Okay, I'm going to have to, what do you want to send to Mel?
Just my regular email.
I got it.
MEL.
Hey, Chris, I just got it.
Okay. All right, I'm going to head over. Everybody else head over too. All right, I'm back from executive session. And I'm expecting others to join us here directly.
I make
All
a
right,
mo-
anyone want to make a motion to come back from executive session?
So moved.
Second,
Motion made by Mr. Albrecht, seconded by Mr. Lindeman to return from executive session. Roll call.
Mr. Powell?
You're on mute, Dave, if you said yes. I didn't.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Carla. Mr. Gertz,
Sorry, Mr. Gertz.
you're on mute also, Mr. Gertz. Thank you. Go ahead and go to Mr. Lynn.
Mr. Lynn,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht,
Yes.
Mr. Lindeman,
yes.
Mr. Cheshire,
Yes.
Mrs. Edichico.
Yes.
Then we are returned from executive session at 8:16 p.m.
Hi, all. Mute, I hope. Okay.
Okay, we will go back to the agenda where we were going to council committee reports. Finance, Chairman, Mr. Gertz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was, since this has nothing to do directly, I wouldn't discuss things out of executive session, but I did ask the auditor to look into, just noting that, and if I'm correct, and there's a 230 streets and curbs account that has $1 million in it, and I think the bulk of that was the 800,000 or 900,000 we bought, that the city of Reading as a legislative and a executive branch of government as the municipal government borrowed to pay for all of the surrounding infrastructure for the new school. And, I just think people should be aware that came out of their tax dollars from the city. That was not any contribution from the school board, but I don't know what the payback is. I forgot. I thought it was 15 or 20 years. So thank you, Sabrina. You said you looked that up tomorrow and bring me up to speed. I appreciate that. And looking over the reports, I see that we have a fair amount of money in the 401 fund here, the FEMA fund, Federal Emergency Management Fund, of about 222,000. I would like council member or Mr. Lindeman to look into his committee for utility buildings and lands for the possibility, since we did not do anything currently. We're going to put John's in down at Canning Park again with a community development block grant that didn't come to fruition before. So I would like to see that maybe explored for flood remediation if we could, Don.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gertz, not to cut you off real quick, but in discussion with Patrick, he had the treasurer's office place money in the 401, which can be used for, it's like a grant fund. I know we keep talking about FEMA, but more things have been placed in there. And the latest one, a big payment's going to go out to the environmental design group, and then later to free up some purchases and expenditures that were paid out of different funds for projects, whether it's the 101 or other things. It's going to deplete some of that balance in that 401 fund, just so you're aware. I'm sorry, what?
I was not aware of all. I remember he was plugging grant money in there from some other fund. I think as we talked in the past, we need to set up a separate fund for grants. And thank you for highlighting that to me, Sabrina. What is the big payment? It's going to, what group is it going to?
It's going to the environmental design group. It was actually for their EPA work, but he had the reimbursement done through the 401. That's where he told the treasurer's office to place it. So it was that one. And then I just made a payment as the big discussion for the bench project I made a big payment out of there because he had a reimbursement placed in the 401 as well for that. But the problem is some of those costs are Linda costs for the EPA one, and some are costs from things. And since the EPA grant that was received, Linda straddled both the general fund for that and the EPA fund. So I have to write an ordinance to you guys to make the money from the 401 go to repay those funds and whatnot. So I have a list of funds on my schedule once I get through the GAP process for 2020 to kind of have further investigation, which we could do as a finance committee, because there's basically, long story short, there's a lot of things like ballistic vests and purchases that are reimbursing that never got reimbursed back to the fund that they were paid from once it got brought in as the expenditure and the revenue came in to a different fund. So sorry, it's a long-winded answer for a lot of these funds need cleaned up, and they need cleaned up from before I started, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does at this point. Maybe I could talk to you tomorrow whenever. I don't want to take up a lot of time tonight. I'd like to get a better and clearer understanding, because I am apprehensive about some of the grant money that they secure a grant. And as I have expressed before, just simply because a grant is given to the city, I don't believe that arbitrarily allows the administration to disperse those monies without some form of legislation. I've used an example of something where maybe the legislative branch would not approve of what the grant money is going to be used for and may not want to authorize the payment. So I think we do need to explore that, maybe with the law director as well as you, Sabrina, and the treasurers.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that if you guys want to set up a meeting to discuss that. But the other issue is a lot of these grants, unfortunately, are reimbursing grants. So it's not a matter of anybody doing, like, making a call. The call has already been made, and now here comes the money to supplement it, and we need to split it up into 4 funds, and that's no one's real true fault. It's just Matt Morgan might have done some electric work for it, or Patrick had service do this, or the police or fire helped with this part of it. So when you have all the payables come in, just like the COVID relief fund payments, some of that stuff went to the fire department because they were the ones on the direct line. So you have the case of that, and then it never got settled up because they straddle years of revenue and expense. So anyway, yes, long story short, there's about 5 different funds on my radar that we need to go through and kind of get to the bottom of it, because some of these should make it to zero, like the 401 fund. And after several talks with the auditors, we don't have to make a new fund. I just have to keep a good folder of what comes in and what was paid out of it, which I do. But the problem is the pre-me, I don't have the history or knowledge to understand, once it's been audited, what hasn't been put in and what hasn't been taken out to kind of make the expense flush in the other funds.
Well, maybe I'll give you a call tomorrow and we can work something, we can discuss it in more detail. I don't want to.
That's good.
Thank you for your response. It gave me a lot more information than I realized. Thank you.
Yep.
I don't have anything else then. We're still, I believe, Mel's going to report on it, so I guess I won't go into it, but I'm confident we did not get as much income as we had projected last year in our budget, and that's logical because of the economy with the pandemic and so forth. But I think we're holding our own, I guess, is about the best we could say at this point in time. Hopefully things will start to pick up more aggressively. I think we were hoping to get about 3 to 4% increase in our earnings tax, and that did not necessarily happen. We at least were only about 1% behind. So I believe, if I remember correctly, from the end of the year. So we'll look forward to working on that in the next several months. I don't have any questions from anybody. That's fine. If anybody have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Gertz?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gertz. Utilities, Lands and Buildings, Chairman, Mr. Lindeman.
Thank you, Chris. I do not have a report tonight. I'm sorry.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Lindeman? Zoning, Planning, Environment, Chairman, Mr. Powell.
Thank you, Chris. I would like to thank our clerk, Carla, for tagging me in the comments on a post on the Reading Community Forum. Evidently, Sharonville had shared some information on how to stop the delivery of the weekly grocery ads. I was glad to see this because I kept hitting dead ends when I attempted to find this information previously. There are 3 options to stop delivery: www.retailmenot.com/everyday/unsubscribe. You could call 513-731-1200 or email cmdetton@valassis.com. It can take up to 6 weeks to stop, and it will be in effect for a period of 5 years. Please contact them again if the issue persists after the 6 weeks is over, so they can follow up with their carrier.
Okay.
That's all that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Laws and Contracts Chairwoman, Miss Edichico.
Thank you, Chris. No report tonight. I do have something that I want to bring up during new business, though.
Okay. Any questions for her? Thank you. Public Health and Safety Chairman, Mr. Fischescher.
Thank you, Chris. First, I would like to express my sincere sympathy to the family of Doris Fenning. Doris was very active with the fire department's auxiliary all the years that they were in existence. And, you know, having gotten to know Doris really well, she was always a pleasure to be with, and I'm sure she's going to be missed. For the month of January, for the police, they had 1,316 calls for service, 18 auto accidents, 191 total charges filed, with 143 of those being original charges. Citations issued over the month: 17 to Arlington Heights, 7 to Hamilton County Court, and 140 to the Reading Mayor's Court, for a total of 164. Highlights of their operations over the last couple of weeks. On 1/19, they responded with the squad for a child with burns. 2 juveniles were located. During the investigation, it was found that they had been setting fires in Lockland. All the information was turned over to Lockland for the investigation. On the 23rd, 7900 block of Reading Road, which is a Family Dollar suspect from a previous theft, entered the store and stole a comforter set. This is the same suspect that I talked about at the last meeting that was stealing bedding. On the 24th, during traffic stop, subject was wanted for questioning in a homicide. So he was turned over to Cincinnati. On another traffic stop on the 28th, the driver had a suspended license and a loaded firearm was recovered from him. The suspect was cited and transported to the Justice Center. Also on the 28th, during a traffic stop, officers recovered 2 loaded firearms along with 2.5 pounds of marijuana. 2 subjects were arrested on that one. You probably saw in the news on the 28th, while making an arrest on Reading Road near Sunnybrook, officers had a Cincinnati salt truck attempt to strike them and turned the salt spreader on, covering them with salt. After pursuit that was terminated, the driver was arrested for attempted vehicular assault and transported to the Justice Center. Both officers are okay. The supervisor for Cincinnati stated that the suspect had a history of issues with authority and law enforcement. The first shift has been conducting extra traffic patrols near the schools over the last couple of weeks. Also, over the last couple of weeks, officers at night that were checking doors in the business district found 3 doors open for businesses. So they're going to talk to the businesses about, making sure they lock up their places. The detectives have been working on a drug case, on an assault case, and a couple of sexual assault cases. The new cruisers are at Mobilecom for equipment installation. And that's it for the police. For the fire department, they had 179 EMS runs, 27 fire responses, 7 of which were all calls, for a total of 213 responses in January. The safety committee will be meeting with the police chief next Tuesday, February 9th at 5 o'clock in the caucus room at City Hall. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss capital needs for the coming year. Anyone wanting to attend the meeting must let me know. Proper distancing and face masks will be required. And that's all I have, Chris.
Randy,
Anyone have any questions?
Randy,
Go ahead, Mr. Albrecht.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Albrecht.
weren't those meetings changed earlier because I can't be there, or I've got something at 7?
Yeah. Tom's gonna knock his off at 6:45.
Okay. All right. So then I can leave before then or then to go to RCIA.
Okay.
Second.
Yeah. Well, you know how Tom is. He's pretty strict about attendance, but I think he'll probably let you go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fischescher. Service, Mr. Albrecht.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to give a shout out to the service department for the good job that they always do, clearing the ice and the snow. This time, of course, on multiple occasions because we were getting snow every day. So as usual, again, they got out and they got the job done, and the Reading streets were in excellent shape. And so again, good job, guys. Secondly, I would like to have my annual meeting of the service committee on Tuesday, the 23rd of February, if Katie and Tom can make it, or Don rather. 6:30.
Katie and Don.
You okay, Katie?
Yeah, that works for me.
Don, are you okay?
Sure, that's good. 6:30 on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Caucus room.
Pardon me? Yeah, I that was another reason I changed it to the fourth Thursday or Tuesday, because that would allow us to meet in the caucus room other than meeting before going on the
Council meeting.
this. So yeah, we'll plan on that unless something changes.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Albrecht?
Question, Denny. How is the salt supply?
Salt supply is good. We got a bunch still left on the down on the river. We didn't get into that last year because we didn't have much snow, and of course so far this year we haven't used a lot anyway. So, but yeah, we got it on hand and we got it on the river.
Good.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Albrecht. And then Recreation Chairman, Mr. Lynn.
Thank you very much. I would like to report that the park rentals have started. So if you're interested in renting a Reading Park, you could call down at City Hall and reserve a park. Also, I would like to call a committee meeting for Tuesday, February 9th. It'll immediately follow Randy's meeting. So I hope that it will start at 6 o'clock. Susan Slavely will join us to talk about the park needs and future wants, so to speak. So that is what I'm asking. So that would include Denny and Randy. If you're available next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, I would greatly appreciate it.
That works out well for your two committees, huh? Same 3 people on each one. Okay, thank you, Mr. Lynn. If there are no other questions, any new business, anything that we need to discuss and put into a committee?
I have something.
Go ahead, Katie. Miss Edichek.
If my voice holds out. I've had a few people ask me about the number of rental properties within the city that are being bought up by out-of-town corporations. I even had somebody that was looking at a rental house in Eagle View that had mold and some other issues. When they contacted the company didn't seem to care, just said they'll find somebody to rent it to. So the concern is, surrounding property values being affected by this when these companies buy these properties with bad reputations and whatnot. So I was going through the city's comprehensive plan, and on page 21, it's noted in there the suggestion to have, let me find it now, apply for a housing license fee of $75 each year and then have yearly inspections done on the properties. So my question was what we can do to move this forward and kind of enact this part of our comprehensive plan. If anyone's interested in it, does that go to a committee, or is this something that I would head up, or how would we do this?
Well, it would logically go into your committee. And I don't think we have to take any kind of action here. You can just start to bring it up in your committee and make discussions there, and then bring it to the full council and make it part of your report.
Okay.
And get feedback from the rest of council about it, and then write an ordinance, or in this case, it'd be an ordinance, and move it towards a vote.
Okay.
Anybody want to add to what I said, or am I wrong? Or
I thought Mr. Powell was working on updating some of these issues. I don't know if that's already been dealt with. I haven't gotten that far. I know you were working on or talking with that. Is that correct, Dave, with the building department?
That was one of the things I was looking at on that, just seeing what all we have rental wise in the community. That would be the big thing, is take an assessment to see how many rental properties we truly have, and then try and make some kind of correlation or analyze the data beyond that and see where we go from there.
well, that's very efficient, because you're on that committee with Katie.
Yeah.
Katie's committee, so that would still be a very good thing to do.
Is it not true that the fire department has a listing of all the rental properties in Reading? It's my understanding that the chief does have a listing of that.
That would be helpful.
I believe so, yes.
I believe he does.
He would have the most comprehensive list, I think.
That is my understanding. Last time I talked to Chief Owens, that is something that we discussed. So I believe he does have a list. I don't know how up to date it is, but I do know that he has a list.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else for new business? That was a good one, Katie. Thank you. Reports of officials. Treasurer, Mr. Gertz.
Thanks, Chris. Earlier this evening, I sent out the January report to everybody. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but I'll do a quick review. For individual residence income taxes, we took in $107,169, was slightly behind what we took in last January in 2020. So we're running behind in that category by about $3,643. For business profits income taxes, we took in $11,981. So we're definitely running behind there compared to last January by about $10,277. The good news is that for payroll withholding income taxes, we took in $717,952, which is, excuse me, about $178,281 more than what we took in last January. So we did discover that there were a number of businesses in the community that evidently people that receive different types of bonuses as part of their pay. That usually goes more into the March, April timeframe, but evidently some of that was allocated here in January. So that was good news for us. So we're running 33% ahead in that category. So in total for the month of January, we took in $837,101. So we're running 24.4% ahead of where we were last January, and which equates to $164,000 ahead as we kick off the new year. Now, February has always been kind of a little bit of a slower month, so hopefully we can keep some momentum going here. And we have recently sent out reminder postcards to everyone in the community in terms of filing your taxes for 2020. They're due April 15th unless something else changes at the state level. But we did send out those reminder cards. So we would encourage, and we do have a number of people that are already bringing their W-2s and tax forms and that sort of thing in for processing. So we would encourage everybody to get that done as quickly as possible. And that's all I've got for tonight, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Gertz. And tonight it'll be the last will be Auditor Ms. Smith.
Thanks, Chris. I just have a couple of updates. January end of month is well underway. So I'll have those reports out to everyone probably tomorrow. And GAP for 2020, which is the first part of the audit, is being started by the auditors. So we do this process yearly and it's due by the end of May. So all departments are working on their pertinent reports for this process. And then over this year, as I kind of alluded to talking to Mr. Gertz, my office will be exploring the 5 funds that need attention. As discussed, we've received grants over the years that need closing by transferring money to correct funds. I'll be working on these and giving updates, as well as some of these funds should capture a zero balance from time to time with a little bit of overlay from month to month. So they're not all dealing with grants. So once I do that, I'll give updates as I have them. And monthly transfers have been made even through the COVID time period. So this includes the movement of money from the city earnings tax to the streets and curbs, the sewer fund, the growth fund, and those two are kind of combined together because the water billing that happens, we get a 7% kickback for that kind of process that we do. And then, as you know, you guys passed an ordinance to take part of that money and put it in the growth fund that we move from the 7%. I know that's a little confusing. And then also the communications for fire, that fund gets to zero, but it's put into a separate fund so we can pay for that process. So that's what my office is working on. And, you know, I can't believe it's already February, and that's it for me, unless anybody has any questions.
No questions? Any other business besides council business from anyone? Then I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
I wanted to.
Don't forget to, hold on, Mr. Gertz, just a second. Don't forget that we do have a council meeting tomorrow. You should get your letter from the police department making that announcement. And I will get out the code to get into that account. And I will probably also ask for an executive session number just in case. I think that would be wise. Mr. Gertz.
No, I just think we have to get back into having our meetings at the council chamber. I mean, the bars have been opened up until 11 now, and people can go to casinos. They can do all these other things. And, you know, we have a maximum of maybe 14 people in a room that's 40 by 40. And I just think it would make it easier to do what we're supposed to do. So that's my comment I've been asking to do for some time. But I guess it's still up to the majority of members of council how they feel about it. But I think it's time to get back into where the citizens can actually be spread out and be in the audience and do what we have to do, you know. I did have one neighbor in my ward, I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want her to get criticized or people come after her, but she's been going, checking out some of the stuff. So well, the service director isn't here, but I don't know if there's been any help from the administration, but there's some housing code issues, and I will take the initiative and talk to the housing code officer. He's always been very responsive, but I would hope that the administration is moving forward, allowing him to do whatever he has to do on a more aggressive basis. So that's all I'll say.
Okay, anyone else? Then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you
Thank
for.
you.
See you tomorrow.
I work tomorrow, but I have to zoom in from my phone, I guess. We'll see how that works. So I'm not too happy